Bestie, let me tell you, April was quite the reading month. So let's talk about it. So let's kick it off with the two Patreon book club picks that we read in April. The first one is our YA book club pick, Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I know you must be questioning, like, Jeannie, why? This is such an old book. Why? It was just something that nobody really read, and we decided, fuck it, let's read it. So picture this. We are in, like, what is it? Victorian? Yes. In Victorian times, where we are kind of like following this infamous serial killer that never got caught. But apparently Miss Audrey Rose here is going to change that. I love the historical fantasy piece of this. I like that it was kind of like set during, you know, the stalking Jack the Ripper, the Jack the Ripper times. This was the author's debut, so, you know, the writing was okay. What I really loved about this, though, was that it had, like, media in it from, like, I guess the actual, like, crime stuff. I also like the fact that this was, like, a Sherlock and Watson story with a twist. Now, here's the thing. Even though I did enjoy that little, you know, twist on things, I didn't really care for these characters, and it took me a bit to get into this book. Like, at one point, I was even thinking, this is not it. Maybe I should just DNF. And that's it. It was a book club pick, so I kind of just was like, you know what? Let me keep reading. Let me wing it through. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because I DNF another book that I read, and maybe that's kind of getting, you know, taking an effect on every other book that I'm reading. The thing that I didn't really care for too is the whole chemistry between Audrey and Thomas. All I kept saying in regards to the whole like little subplot of romance is like, how is this so bad? Like, I felt that there was literally no chemistry. It's supposed to, I guess, be like some kind of slow burn, but it just didn't hit. It's like if you're made to feel like you're supposed to be rooting for them to be together, and yet I wasn't the whole time. Instead, it's like every time they got together and when little things were said, or when Audrey Rose was like, oh, I'm thinking of him, or when Thomas would say certain things, I was just like, ew. You know, like, it just didn't hit, and I do not see them being together, even though I know that's where it's going to lead to. I don't know if I'll ever actually ship them and want them to be together, because so far with this one, I'm already just like, yeah, no. Stay friends. Or acquaintances, for that matter. In Jeannie typical fashion, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I could not stand Thomas. I don't understand how he got the title of like book boyfriend or like swoon worthy, because he was just none of those things for me, like, at all. I don't find him smart. I don't find him funny. I find him annoying. He's so condescending. I just, ugh.
So what is close around here that we can buy? McDonald's.
Yeah, that's Thomas for me. Like, I literally cannot comprehend why Audrey likes him and why he likes her. That's why I'm saying, like, their chemistry is just non-existent. It's just like if Carrie Maniscalco just came up with all these typical, like, YA, like, tropes and just blended it all together to create this. Listen, I'm sorry but not sorry at the same time, because I just couldn't, and I couldn't stand him. And yeah, this was so predictable, and it could just be me.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
I am a thriller reader. I also love to watch true crime, so yeah, it could just be that. Regardless, I still kind of enjoyed it. I'm still up in the air about the rating. I think I'm gonna settle for 2.5. I wouldn't say that I got lit with this one just because it was a struggle, but I still recommend this to maybe, you know, younger readers that don't really read thrillers like I do and watch true crime. The other Patreon book club pick I read on my Kindle. Yes, that book was How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. Right? O'Reilly? Yeah, this book right here. So this one is said to have this forbidden obsession, an unyielding family allegiance, and 3 deadly challenges. Wow, right? In this one, we're following Callie, who happens to be like this environmental biologist, I think it was. I should remember that just because it's repeated a lot of times in the book, but I'll get into that a little bit later on in this review. But yeah, she's like this environmental biologist who is in the forest looking for these type of moths and these rare mushrooms. And then it just so happens that she falls into this fairy portal and falls onto an unseelie prince. But what could be horrible about that, right? Well, what's horrible about it is that he thinks she's an assassin. He ends up taking her in and putting her through these 3 deadly challenges. Now, the question is, will she survive? And then with the unseelie prince, his whole thing is, wow, like, I don't know. I'm feeling like I'm feeling something for her. Will I survive that?
Yeah, something to that effect.
This was hard to get through. Let me tell you that. I was struggling with this book. It was just like so annoying. I wanted to DNF this so many times. And I still don't understand why I didn't. I just really couldn't stand this book. I guess I didn't fully DNF it because it was a book club read, even though another member, my bestie Christy, did DNF it, and I was so disappointed because I was like, girl, wasn't you the one who said you was going to keep pushing through and finish the book? Especially because she bought it. Which joke's on you, Christy, because you bought it when you should have just listened to me and read it on Kindle Unlimited.
Girl, the shade of it all.
The thing that I couldn't really stand about this book is how annoying Callie was, you know, because it's like everything was about her looks and how pretty she was in the human world and how she's like this beautiful, skinny, dainty, Barbie-like girl. And then like she's hit with reality when she goes into the Fae world and everybody just views her as this ugly troll type thing. I was like, ha, Callie, that's something that I did enjoy. Just seeing, you know, like her being brought down a notch. Trust and believe the author did not let you forget that she was this beautiful girl and everybody in town is in love with her and everybody wants to be her. And yeah, she's like a Disney princess. Not only did I not like the female character, but the male character, oh lordy, lordy, lordy. You already know I love my villains, but he was like this unseelie prince who was like dark. Is said to like have no type of emotion. He's brutal, he's savage, he kills on demand, like on demand, on command. You get what I'm trying to say. He's just brutal and he'll murder you on the spot, right? But it just didn't give. It didn't give that at all. I didn't even view him much as a villain. Things that he would say was just like corny and cringy and not villainous at all. I was just like, I don't take you seriously. So you expecting Callie to take you seriously? How does this whole kingdom take you seriously? Let's get into this part, right? The romance, the chemistry, the whole he falls for the girl, but he falls for her within like a short amount of time and they're not even together at all really in the story, but yet he's just like head over heels for her out of nowhere. And that just annoyed me. It was very insta love, but just like done horribly wrong. Like, ugh. It triggers me, okay? It triggers me to no end because there was just no freaking chemistry. None. Zero zip. It's like how? Even when I've read other insta-love books, at least you get some form of chemistry. You know, there's something happening there. Or they had time to like really be together to develop something. This one, it just didn't give that. And it just felt just forced. And it was also like this thing too where the author didn't show you the chemistry or that it was happening, even if it was just on his part and then eventually happened on her part. No, it was kind of just like there. One chapter, it's this. Next chapter, it's okay. Boom. Oh my God. Yes. You know, like, it just gives me a headache thinking about it. This book wasn't even so long. I forgot like how many pages it has. I felt like it could have just been even shorter than that with the amount of repeats and replays that I kept hearing in this book. It was just the twist. It was kind of something that I kind of predicted, just not in the full way that it went. I think that's why I rated this a 1.5 star. I'm still just mind boggled by why the fuck didn't I DNF this? So as you can tell, bestie, I did not get lit with this at all. I'm still like, why the hell did I finish this book? I should have just DNF'd it early on when I wanted to DNF it. Will I continue? At one point after the twist, I was like, you know what? It is worth it. I will continue to the second one, but now as it kept sitting and I'm thinking about it and reliving the feelings that I felt while reading this book, I'm just like, no, it's not worth me being put through that pain and torture again. Because after looking at the second book and seeing the reviews, that alone got me scared and made me feel like I do not want to waste my time on this book too when I could be reading something more enjoyable. So yeah, I do not recommend. But you know, if you want to try, always try. And I'm so glad I did not buy this book. You see, I'm keeping up with my reading goals. Try to read the book before I buy it. Cause yeah.
Blake/nerd. Here we go, my boy. $5. Okay.
We started the month off strong, you know, like I picked up this book and I was super hyped. I was like, yes, I'm finally reading this book. It's a cozy fantasy. It's grumpy sunshine. It's all the rave. You know, everybody and their mamas and their grandmamas and their great grandmothers read it and they're like 5-star, you must read it. Ultimately, I was excited. And you want to know what that book is? Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Yeah, we are following Evie, who is, guess what? Assistant to the villain. Yes, you know, of course, we follow the villain. So as she's working for the villain, she starts to develop this little crush on him. But he has the reputation of being this terrifying, temperamental, grumpy, but hot boss.
I just hear that name and I shout, Mufasa. Ooh. Do it again. Mufasa. Mufasa.
Evie starts to suspect that there is this big old rat in the kingdom that's trying to sabotage her boss. So now, not only is Evie faced with having to resist him and maybe stop drooling over him, but also uncovering who is trying to sabotage him. Let me tell you, my excitement was dwindling, okay, as I was reading this book. This book was a DNF. Yes, I told you, bestie. I started the month off strong. Now, do I have anything nice to say about it? No, I don't. This book made me feel like I wanted to throw it out the window. Like I wanted to just throw it into the deep ocean. Like I wanted to throw it in the trash. And listen, okay, reading is subjective and it's freedom of speech, right? Because I know a lot of people tend to get upset when you talk bad on a book. But listen, this is how I feel. I stopped here, okay? I read a good amount. So I stopped at chapter 15, which is like a little over 100 pages. I didn't stop right away, even though, oh my goodness, just reaching chapter 15, it was like pulling teeth. It was a struggle to get through because the writing, listen, whoever was the editor, they need to get fired.
You've done a hell of a lousy job. You're late and you don't treat our vets right. Jim, I'm sorry. You're fired. Get out of here.
It's hard to get through. It's hard to read. Ugh. They didn't do Hannah justice, you know, with the editing portion of it. And I don't know if it was Hannah, if it was the editor, if it was both. But regardless, somebody should have seen that the writing structure and the writing style just sucks. You know when you like write a first draft for a paper that you're working on. It kind of felt like that, but maybe like a middle schooler writing a paper or a story.
Would you like some aloe vera? You just got burned.
This book had me so confused by like what age group it fell under. Like at one point, I felt like it read as a middle grade. And then at another point, it read as like YA. And then because there was like little like sexual or flirting innuendos in here, that's where it kind of felt like, oh, okay, that's why this is categorized as adult. Listen, I think this would have been better if it would have been either a middle grade or a YA fantasy, because adult this is not it. This is not it. Like I kept thinking that it was like a YA. And you know what? Had it been categorized as a YA, then I would have kind of understood and probably would have bumped up the rating a little bit. Well, not the rating a little bit because I DNF'd it. I never finished. But maybe I would have finished because it would have been a little bit more understandable, you know? The thing that also got me with this was how cringy it was. This was so cringe, like literally I kept rolling my eyes. It was trying to be funny so badly, but I was just like, really? Really? Just stop. Just stop. Please stop. It is so painful. Then to mention the characters. The characters were also so painful. I did not like any one of them. They were so flat, bland, tasteless. It was, ugh. Yeah, that's what they were. They were just that. This is supposed to also be a slow burn. My whole thing is, you know, from where I got up to, it didn't feel right and I didn't care for them. I didn't care for the chemistry. I didn't ship them.
It just all around sucked, okay?
Yeah. And then let me tell you about this plot. The plot, non-existent. I'm a character-driven girly, okay? But I do like some plot, especially when a book is trying to have a plot. Then I'm expecting some kind of plot. It doesn't have to be full-blown plot-driven, because if it's not that type of book, it's not that type of book. But this, it was just like, it didn't make sense. Listen, at one point I was thinking, Genie, push through, you know, because everybody's talking about this big old twist at the end. But it was just so painful to read that I couldn't. I didn't care at that point. Then Bestie. The other thing is that the narration for this, horrible. It's so bad. I do not recommend. I was like, you know what? I don't like the narrator. I don't like the way it's read. Let me read it myself. And even that was too painful to do. And I was just like, you know what? No. Why am I going to waste my time? Why? Like, if I'm going to be a hater, I'm just going to hate on whatever I got to. And that's it. Like, that's it. But yeah, I don't recommend. It's horrible. With this one being a DNF, you could tell I definitely did not get lit. So I am just so glad that I did not buy this when I saw it in Barnes & Noble. And it even had the red sprayed edges. And I'm so thankful that I did not get this book. Next book on the chopping block is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. Okay, so picture this. You're in a small town where you find out that a mother ends up dead at the like bottom of the river or something like that. But then a teenager also meets the same fate. With all of that, it stirs up for family secrets. Family secrets to come up to the surface. I ended up giving this one a 2-star rating, but as I kept thinking about it, I actually lowered it to a 1.5 star rating because it just wasn't it. And here's why. What I can say is that the writing, she pretty much does well. I felt like it was so eerie, so atmospheric. Like I was there and I was able to like kind of like immerse myself. Then the other thing that I enjoyed with this one is that the characters were so flawed, which for me, it kind of made them relatable and more believable, even though I enjoyed the fact that the characters were flawed. But I also felt that there were too many characters here. Sometimes I found myself kind of confused by whose perspective I was reading, and then trying to figure out like what their role in this story was and if it was even anything important. And then the other thing is that sometimes some chapters would be like in third person and then others would be in first person. So that kind of threw me off as well. As for the suspense, there really wasn't any. And it's crazy because it's actually like marketed as a psychological suspense. It was just written in a way that kind of made it domestic. Can we talk about this ending? Okay, this ending was so lackluster, so anticlimactic. Like, I didn't even get that, oh my God, that happened? No. And I think that it also was because of like the way things were built up. So it kind of makes sense why like I wasn't hit, you know, when the big reveal happened. So as you can figure, bestie, I did not get lit with this one and I would not recommend. However, what I will say is that maybe I will try The Girl on the Train to give this author another shot. Last month, I also was sent the arc Older by Jennifer Hartman. So picture this, bestie. We have forbidden romance, age gap, slow burn, with a happily ever after. We're following Haley, who is this abused girl who lives in a loveless household. One day, she encounters Reed. They end up having this great connection. Reed is also connected to her best friend. How? Well, she calls him dad. So this was my first Jennifer Hartman book, and what I will say is it won't be my last because I did enjoy like the writing style and the angst between the characters, being able to see the growth that Haley went through and her like finding herself. And yeah, I did enjoy like the whole forbidden aspect of it, of course. And there was like, you know, that push and pull and that tension of like Haley wanting Reed and Reed wanting her so badly, but they know that they can't. So that to me was everything. Now, the thing that I kind of got lost at was like the middle portion. It was kind of like that whole push-pull thing for me too. It's like the beginning, I was hooked, I was interested. Then the middle, lost interest. Then at the end, I gained it back. I really did enjoy the way that things played out, but I did feel like the ending part was rushed. I wish we would have got more of them as a couple. That is like the main complaint, because it's like, damn, you build me up because this was such a forbidden romance, only to give me this little thing at like towards the end. Really? I did get pretty lit with this one. I did kind of get stuck with the rating. I didn't know if I wanted to give it a 3.5 or 4-star, but I think I'm gonna settle with a 3.5. And I would recommend this book still to anyone that loves themselves, you know, age gap romance and the slow burn, and who also loves 90s nostalgia, because that was something I forgot to mention. I was listening to like a lot of 90s music while reading this book, and that just made it all the better. So definitely check this out if you love stuff like that. So bestie, let me know if you read any of these books, what was on your April wrap up, and if you did feel the way that I felt about some of these books, let's talk about it down in the comments below. You can follow me on Patreon and all my social medias. That's all linked down below. Until next video, bestie, stay lit. Love you. Bye.